Remember when you would go to the cinema as a kid to watch a superhero movie, and then afterwards you would try and act like the hero, standing taller with a bounce in your step? No? Just me? Okay. Well, Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse revived that sensation within me, but in a slightly different way. I wanted to draw so badly after I left the cinema. I got home as quick as I could and pulled out my sketchbook, and I didn't stop drawing until late into the night. You know a movie is good when it can inspire you to create. The power to stir a creative outburst like that within the audience should not be taken lightly. It may have not made me feel like a superhero, but that inspiration was still there, and that is something special. Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse has been out for a couple of weeks now. It is doing incredibly well at the box office, and for good reason. The story, visuals, themes and characters are all on point. I love this recent trend of sketchy animation, with the standout examples being Into the Spider-Verse and Puss in Boots. It's such a massive improvement when compared to the lifeless corporate animation we've been getting over the past several years. I adore the visuals, but I will say it's a fine balance, and it may have gone slightly too far at some points. The most obvious being towards the end of the movie when Gwen is having her climactic moment with her dad. The backgrounds went crazy, changing dramatically from dark blues, showing sadness, to bright white and yellow symbolising the happiness of the pair finally reconnecting. It felt like the visuals were suddenly dialed to 100. I don't know, it just threw me off a bit. If you remember this scene, please let me know what you thought in the comments. I would love to hear how you interpreted it. Other than that though, the movie was gorgeous. I especially loved the quiet moment between Miles and Gwen, as they had a peaceful conversation upside down on top of a skyscraper. But the movie isn't just a pretty picture, it goes far deeper than that. For starters, the world building is brilliant. Remember that scene early on in the movie when Miles is chasing the Portal villain? Well, towards the end of that chase, pair end up in a location that we have seen before, the Multiversal Super Collider. This is one of the main locations used in the first movie, so to see it return really helps to create a sense of continuity across the franchise, as well as giving a recap to members of the audience who may have forgotten the plots of the last movie. The fact that this location has been used in both movies now leads me to assume that we will see it a final time in Beyond the Spider-Verse. Perhaps this will be used to return the Spot back to his human form and remove his multiverse and portal abilities for the finale. Speaking of the Spot, I thought he was set up really well. They clearly established that he is just another villain of the week for Miles to defeat. But then, as his power grows, so too does his dominance on screen. We already saw how tricky he was for Miles to capture when he was at his base level of power. But once he has unlocked the multiverse, he becomes virtually unstoppable, which is a massive problem for Miles, because this puts his family at risk at the end of the movie. You see, Miles is technically the reason the Spot was created. He caused the Super Collider to explode, which led to the Spot losing his past life and being unwillingly forced into a new life as a villain. All the best villain backstories are always connected to the hero. It allows for their eventual confrontation to be more emotional and helps the audience connect to them. Like Darth Vader's connection with Luke Skywalker, Voldemort's connection with Harry Potter, as well as my favourite example, Syndrome from The Incredibles. At the beginning of the movie we get to see Syndrome just beginning to develop his talent of inventing. Still new to his powers, and just like the Spot, they both aren't taken seriously by the hero, because they aren't seen to be any real threat. Just something the hero needs to deal with before moving along with their day. Both villains see this reaction by the hero as a sign that they need to get stronger and more powerful in order to be taken seriously. Slowly, this drive to impress turns into hatred, and the hero has created their own worst enemy. It really makes the hero relatable because we all say and do things that come back to bite us later in life. That's just one of the things that make us human. We're often so wrapped up in our own lives that we can disregard our impact on others. Just something to think about. They really put an emphasis on Gwen in this movie. Feel free to debate this in the comments, but I think this was a good decision. We already know Miles from the first movie, so it was nice to get more development for this side character. I mentioned the arc with her dad a moment ago, but I really think this was the main focus for the movie. I mean, it literally starts with her backstory, showing how she lost her Peter Parker and how her dad thought she killed him. I did notice a subtle theme with Gwen's development. It felt a bit like a coming out story. She has a secret she can't tell her dad because she doesn't know if she can trust him. Then she removes her mask and shows him her true self, but he rejects her because he is stuck in his ways, so she leaves home before eventually returning, and her dad finally accepts her. I mean, she has a trans flag in her bedroom, and her suit is comprised of those same colours, so maybe there's something there. Or maybe I'm just reading into it too much. Unfortunately, a side character that I don't think was developed well was Peter Parker himself. He was pretty much reduced to a babysitter for this movie, with no real time to develop. I wish we could have seen something more from him. After all, he was one of the more intriguing parts of the first movie. There were only a few things I didn't like in Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. It was still brilliant, but they need mentioning. Like how they joke about Uncle Ben's death, the fact that 1,000 Peter Parkers couldn't stop one Miles Morales, or the multiverse problem in general. What is the multiverse problem, you might ask? Basically, now that there is an unlimited number of identical characters, it removes the stakes within the story. Because now we know even if a character that we love dies, then they can just be replaced by someone who is almost identical. It makes everyone less important. It makes everyone feel expendable. Take Wanda for example. Even if she died in this scene, we can easily just go and get another version of her across the multiverse, and the problem is solved. Or when Doctor Strange dies, we can just replace him with an identical copy. Same goes for Spider-Man, Ant-Man, Reed Richards, Loki, and every other character across the Marvel universe. Nobody is special, and everyone can be replaced. Even when they say Miles is unique because he was not supposed to have been bitten by that spider, he is still expendable under the multiverse theory, because every single decision that he has ever made has created another almost identical version of him across the Spider-Verse. And even some other franchises have started to dip their toes into the multiverse. I'll need to make a whole video discussing the multiverse problem at some point. Big companies love the multiverse because it allows them to make unlimited money through nostalgia. And Across the Spider-Verse is filled with this nostalgia, most of which were great. I loved Lego Spider-Man and PlayStation Spider-Man, as well as brief appearances from Andrew and Tobey once again, not to mention the Prowler from Homecoming. Who's your favourite Spider-Man? If you would like to vote, there's a poll on the community tab on my channel. I think this movie does nostalgia well, because none of these characters I just mentioned play a major role in the story. They're just in the background for the most part. But I'm not sure how I feel about this recent focus on nostalgia across the film and television industry. It feels like every new project uses the past in some way or another, like Indiana Jones, No Way Home, Batman in The Flash, or David Tennant returning to Doctor Who. Full video by the way, by clicking the card. Sometimes this is done well, like in Across the Spider-Verse, but often it just feels like a cash grab. Overall though, I really loved this movie. I especially loved the creative art style, world building and character development. And even though I mentioned a few flaws in this video, I don't think they really take away from the overall experience. Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse was creatively brilliant and deserves all of the success it's getting. I just hope they can land the finale in Beyond the Spider-Verse, because right now they are on track to create a perfect, powerful trilogy. But as we all know, with great power comes great responsibility.